Okay, so today I've just dropped a guy off after doing a check ride with him on his motorcycle for a blood bike organisation, Cornwall Blood Bikes, who I ride for, and we got onto the subject of used to be called countersteering or positive steering, as they call it now, and it's a skill that not many people are aware that they're using. I mean, everybody uses it, they just don't realise they're using it. So I'm going to try and make an attempt of explaining what it's all about. And basically, it's about how we steer a bike. And if you ask somebody the question of, you know, how does your bike go around a corner, they'll say, use the analogy of a steering wheel. If you're going to the right, you'll be pulling off to the right hand side, pulling the wheel down on the right, or your right hand handlebar will be coming towards you. And if you're going to the left, then obviously you'll be pulling on your left handlebar. The reality of a bike is not that. It's very, very different. And that's what we call this positive steering, counter steering. It's got other names, I'm sure. But what it actually means is when you're going around a bend, you're using the physics of the bike to help you go around a bend more efficiently. And the best way to sort of demonstrate it is if you go around, unless you've got a cruise control, you can't do this, so I'll only do it on a right-hand bend. But if you're going around a right-hand bend, if you take your left hand off the steering, off the handlebars, and just try and work out what your right hand actually does. And what it does is it pushes the right hand handlebar away from you. Now, it's not a massive amount of effort to do that, it's just a small amount, you know, but that's what happens, and that is, I like to call it counter steering, so we'll just call it counter steering from now on. That's counter steering. And what it's doing is it's using the inertia of the bike, it makes the bike lean over, and it changes its direction. So I've got a hill coming up now towards me, just in front of me now, once I get past this junction. And I will take off my left hand, and hopefully I'll be able to show you what my right hand is doing. So my left hand is off now in front of me, and my right hand, if I pull back, you can see how the bike changes its position. So if I pull back like traditionally people would think you're steering a bike, the bike wants to stand up. Now this helps us in many ways when we're riding along, for example, coming towards bends, and perhaps you've got too much speed on, or you're in the wrong gear. If you apply your brakes while going around a bend, the bike is only going to do one thing. If you apply your brakes, the bike on a bend will stand up in the upright position, and it will go in a straight line. That's the physics of bikes. Okay, it's the only way it'll do it, and that's why you see all these accidents for motorcyclists on bends. They've got too much speed, they've put the brakes on, the bike stood up, the bike has gone straight instead of turning around the bend. Bosh, they've had an accident, and you see it time and time again on the roadsides, you know, where people have had these accidents. So when you get into that situation, what you should be contemplating doing is, instead of pulling on your brakes, I'm going to go into cruise control now on this and see if I can show this to you. When you go onto instead of going onto the brakes, if you use positive steering, you can actually slow yourself down. Now I can't demonstrate it on here, but I'm going to demonstrate this left-hand bend. I'm on the right-hand side of the road for better view. I'm going to take my right hand off, which is off now. And if you look at the handlebar, see what the handlebar does. If I push on the left, you'll see the bike wants to go to the left. If I pull, then the bike wants to stand up. And that's counter steering. I'll do it again on this left-hand bend we've got coming up to us just after this junction again. So I'm lucky I've got cruise control and I can actually do this. So I've got a left-hand bend coming up. I'm in the right position for the road to see. I'm applying a very, very small amount of pressure, and the bike wants to go around the bend. It's starting to turn already. If I pull back on that, you'll see the bike alters its position. It goes up and it goes down. But if I continue with the pressure, I've now got my right hand on the bar because we're going around. So if I continue with the pressure now, you see the bike is actually going around the bend on its own. And the way I can prove this again, hopefully, is I'll just have my hand on the bar like this. My left hand is off and I'm not holding the bar, I'm just pushing on the bar end. And that's what's making me go around the bend. So we've got another right hand bend coming up here. You can see I've now only got one finger on the bar. I'm sat up, here's my left hand if you can see it hopefully, and I'm just pushing. So I'm not pulling towards me, I'm pushing on the bar, and you can see that the bike wants to go around the corner. And as soon as I take any pressure off that handlebar, the bike stands up again and comes back into its normal riding position. So here we are again. Okay, small amount of pressure, I'm driving it with my finger. I'm hoping you can see this. Okay. So like I was explaining before, when you come into a bend and you've got too much speed on, if you put your brakes on, the bike is only ever going to do one thing. It's going to stand up, it's going to go in a straight line, you're going to hit a hedge. And you can see down in Cornwall here, the hedges are a little bit unforgiving. 8 foot tall, full of bricks. So we don't want to do that. But by using countersteering, we can overcome that quite simply by pushing harder on the bar. Now, I've got a lovely right hand bend coming down here now. I've got my finger on the handlebar. I'm just pushing. I'm not holding on. I'm pushing. The bike has gone round. My hand is still in the air. Look, and we got round it nicely, much to the annoyance of the guy behind me. I must apologise. So, if you come to a bend with too much speed, for example, we're saying a right-hand bend now, rather than put your brakes on and have an accident, which is, you know, what's going to happen ultimately, if you push hard on the right-hand handlebar, it'll force the bike to lean over. And by doing that, it actually uses the friction of the road against your tyres to shed the speed off. Now, it's a bit of a mind shrink to try and work out how it works, but it does work. And the harder you push, the more speed you're going to shed off, or the quicker the speed is going to come off. Now, while you're doing that, you're also coming off the throttle, you're not touching your brakes, the bike will follow the bend round, and if it's a tightening bend, you just have to push that much harder. Now this is how you see these guys on the racetrack. That's what they're doing when they go around the bends. You know, they're not going to touch the brakes, they're certainly not going to touch the brake because they're going to have an accident, but they're pushing really, really hard, and that's why they're leaning over, they're right across the seat, they're changing their position on the seat, because it's all about pushing on that handlebar. And if you imagine you're doing 120 miles an hour around a bend at Silverstone or something like that, there's quite a bit of weight to push. So that's why they do it, and that's what countersteering is. It's really simple, it's nothing difficult, and it works perfectly. Everybody does it, they just don't realise that they do it. So I'm coming to a roundabout now. I'm going to turn left around this roundabout, and it puts me on a road that's got a couple of bends on. But I'm hoping my little demonstration there was good enough for you to see that just by a small amount of pressure on a handle, you can make a great difference to your steering ability and your capabilities. Okay, so now I'm up to 50 miles an hour, I've got cruise control on, and I have a left-hand bend coming up in front of me. I'm hoping you can see I've just got my hand, one finger on the handlebar, my right hand is in the air. All I'm doing is pushing on it, I'm not gripping the handlebar at all, and that is making the bike turn in the direction I want it to go. So I'm pushing the handlebar slightly away from me, and it's turning the bike. Now I've got more of a bend coming up here. I've still only got one hand on the handlebar, one finger on the handlebar, and the bike leans over. A tighter bend coming up, here I am leaning over. There it is. Okay, now I'm changing hands. I've got the right hand handlebar, I've got one finger on it. My hand is in the air, as you can see. All I'm doing is pushing. I'm actually pulling now to go around this little left, but I'm pushing now on this handlebar to make myself turn. Okay, and you can see how far the bike leans over, and just by taking that pressure off, the bike stands up. A left-hand bend, it's quite a steep one, so I'll try and do this. Right hand in the air. I'm pushing now with the left hand. I've got my right hand in the air. I've gone round the junction. Okay, that's counter steering. It's as simple as that. There's nothing difficult about it, nothing magical. It's just using the physics of the machine to do what you want it to do. So I'm now up to 40 miles an hour. I'm back on one finger on the right hand bar. Got a little left bend here which I have to pull towards me, otherwise I can't demonstrate it. Here I am, one finger, hand in the air. I'm pushing the handlebar away from me a little bit, makes the bike go around the corner. How simple is that? Now that's a skill that people talk about and say, oh, you know, counter steering, I don't do it. Everybody does it when they're riding a bike. There's no way you can't do it. You're just not aware that you're doing it enough. So here I am, another left hand. Right hand turn, sorry, and I'm coming down now to a 30 mile an hour. And that, folks, is how you counter steer.
Right, so Mark has been out on his bike and he has very masterfully demonstrated counter steering, pushing and pulling on your handlebars, not steering wheel, on your handlebars. Now we've used this, as Mark has so gracefully pointed out, as our crude attempt at showing you the dimensions of the tyre. So where it's sellotaped in the middle and the biggest circumference of the cups replicates the point that your tyre is going to touch on the road as you're going along. So as you ride along, you're wanting to keep it upright. So you can see the gap from down this side and down this side is not touching the ground. And that's the same on your tyre, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah.
So counter steering, we want to get around the corner. So if we're going round to the left hand bend, we want to push on our right hand, on the right side of the handlebars, don't we?
Yep.
So as you push, you're in effect telling the bike to go over, so therefore leaning into the left hand bend. And appreciate on the camera it's probably opposite, but you're pushing it so that you are pushing it into the bend, but you're actually controlling that angle, so you're not allowing the tyre to do exactly what he wants. And the tyre will just spin around and around and around like that if you didn't use any counter steering. So you wouldn't really have any control of going around the corner, would you?
Yeah, can I just say we did try this with handles on the cups, but it made it really difficult.
Yeah, there you got so far. So another way to explain it is if we remove the sellotape and just use one cup. If we were riding along and we want to keep the centre of the tyre on the biggest circumference and let go of the handlebars and lost our speed, our tyre would do that. Exactly the same as a cups principle, where the smaller circumference is the one that is dominant because the whole weight has fallen to it, therefore the tyre is going to go out of control, and so is your bike.
You're sounding all really scientific there, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah. So with that principle, with you pressing, so we're going to go around a right hand bend, and it might look different on the camera, but it's the opposite. So if you're going on the right hand, round a right hand bend, you push the left hand. If you go around a left hand bend, you push the right hand bar. And as you get proficient, you can start pushing on one side and pulling on the other, only very, very slightly to get that angle. So we're going to go round a right hand bend, so I'm going to push on the left hand handlebar to basically bring the point that I want the tyre to connect.
Tilts the bike over.
Yeah, tilt the bike over and tilt the tyre over, so this middle piece is the piece that is touching the ground, but I'm controlling it, so I'm not allowing it to go out of control. I'm controlling it around the bend, and that is the principle of counter steering.
And by adding all that extra tread is where the friction comes in that I spoke about when I'm doing the going round the bends. This is where the friction against the tyre in the road comes, and this is where it slows you down. as you're counter steering, because you're pushing it. The bike wants to really, the tyre wants to do that, but we're not letting it. Normally it would be like that, but we're using the whole of this area of the tyre as a friction pad, if you want, to actually slow the bike down.
And that's like you were saying when you were riding, exactly what they'll do in motorbike racing is that they don't want to touch the brakes, because bear in mind you should only ever ask your tyres to do one job at a time. They can't be touching the ground and leaning over and braking all at the same time. It just doesn't work. And that's the principle of any advanced riding, really. Any advanced driving, it's exactly the same. And what we mean by that is if your vehicle is going around a corner like that, really flat, you want it to stay flat, and that's what the counter steering is doing. It's tipping the bike over, but it's keeping everything natural, isn't it? Mm-hmm. If you were to brake, and imagine it by a car, if you were to brake and to go round a corner, and we're going around a right-hand corner, suddenly, if on a car, if you've got 4 tyres, you're not only saying to the car, brake, but now you're turning, so all the weight is going to go into the corner, and that's why people have an accident, because they don't brake before a corner, get their speed set up, and then they're steering so that they go around the corner.
It's understeer and oversteer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the whole weight of the vehicle being put into a position where it shouldn't be for doing what you're asking it to do.
Yeah. So, I hope that explains it.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
If you got any comments, just stick them on the comments below the video, and we hope you liked it.
Yeah.
So, Cuphead.
Cuphead.
If you like the video, give us a big thumbs up, and obviously subscribe to us, because that really is nice to know that people are watching it and we're doing something right. I'm sorry half my head's missing off the film, but it's the only way we could set it up. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
See you soon.